Hello and welcome back to another Kickstarter board game review by Unfiltered Gamer.
Today's game is going to be Debtzilla by Capital Gains Studio. This game is going to be a 2 to 4 player game, recommended 14 plus, and takes about an hour to play.
In Debtzilla, players will take up the role of heroes trying to stop the Debtzilla monster unleashed by the government's unnecessary spending and whatnot. And all of these scam artists have also arisen to steal money from the poor citizens. So let's go ahead and check out what's in the game. Included in the game, we have 2 bosses, their corresponding monster cards, the player cards that you'll be able to play with, these chits for money, and 5 count, plus immunity shields.
And then we also have these chits right here. They're going to be placed as markers, which we'll explain later. Each player gets their own set of dice to their corresponding colors. Here we have different cards that you can purchase, and different cards that have different abilities that we'll go over later. Same thing here. These are going to be the cards in your hand as well. Savings, luxury, budgeting, and again, like I said, we'll go over those a little bit later. These guys right here are going to be gadgets that you can purchase, different types of gadget cards. Again, we'll be going over those a little bit later. And these are going to be the citizens that we're going to be rescuing or protecting as the game goes on.
Some villain cards, a rulebook, and four game boards.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get the startup down here. First, you're going to want to do is choose your boss. Choose which boss that you're going to play. And let's say we're going to choose this boss for this game. With that boss, we have the corresponding decks. So we would be choosing this deck with this boss. Also, each player is then going to choose which character they want to play. And again, each character has their own special abilities and a regular ability. And again, we'll go over that a little bit later. But you'll choose your character. I'll choose this guy as my character. And also, each player is going to start off with a starting hand. This starting hand, everybody starts with the same starting hand. It's 3 savings, 4 luxury, and 3 credit card loans. And then you will be choosing your color. So I will just be choosing blue. You get 5 die and 1 meeple. And I believe that's it for that.
All right, and then the typical turn sequence takes 4 phases. The first one's going to be the working phase. You're going to draw your 5 cards. You're going to resolve the effects of those cards. Afterward, you have the choice of acquiring 1 card to add to your deck, or you're going to pay off a debt. Then you're going to move on to the shopping phase, where you're going to buy stuff from the store. Following that, you're going to go to the vigilante phase, where you'll fight the villains that are confronting our poor citizens. After that, you're going to resolve everything and keep the cycle going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go over the setup of how we're going to have the game placed here. Up in this corner, we're going to have our boss, which we selected with our corresponding deck that we talked about earlier. And down here, these are going to be the cards that you're going to be able to put into your deck. Each turn, you're going to be able to get a card to put into your deck. Up here in this corner, we have our villains. And we're always going to have the last villain standing at the bottom of the deck. That's going to signify something that Grant will go into in just a moment. And we have our 3 villains and our 3 citizens that we're going to be protecting. Down here in this corner, we have different gadgets that we can purchase. Again, these are going to be cards that are going to go into our decks. And each one, again, has a different ability that's going to help us protect our citizens and progress through the game. On this side, we've each chosen our character with our chit, with our dice, and this is our hand. This is our starting deck that we went over in the beginning of the game.
When adding cards to your deck, these cards will give you money. These cards will give you an insurance shield, which will help combat the boss later. Happiness will increase your happiness, allowing you to use your special powers. This will pull cards out of your deck. These cards have, they'll increase the boss's health, and they'll give you benefits when you pay them off later, then reducing the boss's health. Here on the cards, we have the cost of the card, and then this is the effect. These are going to all affect dice rolls, because you're going to need to get certain numbers. Here we have more powerful cards, which cost more, but they go directly to your base and they can be used a lot more readily. Here we have your citizens' wealth, and as they get scammed, their wealth will go down until they go bankrupt. Here we have the number that we're going to need to defeat the villains, and here we have the discard pile for those cards. Finally, we have the boss's board, which has the health of the boss. Every time it passes a threshold, a new boss card is going to be revealed, and the boss card is going to take effect for the turn it's revealed, where it'll go to the waiting room for the final boss fight.
Okay, so now we got the whole setup going. Let's go ahead and go over a couple turns and how the game plays out.
Debtzilla is a cooperative deck builder with simultaneous turns. During the first phase, players will draw 5 cards from their deck. If their deck has less than 5 cards, they're going to go ahead and shuffle their discard in and draw 5 anyway. Afterwards, everyone places their cards down in front of them, and they will get the corresponding item off of the card. So here all of us actually got $3, or what are they called? Wonga. The first and third player here both get to move their happiness up to. After that, we get to choose to either add a card to each deck. This player is going to add a savings to their deck. The other alternative you can do is you can pay off a credit card. So he's going to take his 3 and he's going to pay off his credit card. When you pay off a debt, you're going to lower Debtzilla's HP by the amount on the card. So he's going to go down 24. And that's helpful because that puts the threshold farther away. All right, what do you think this player is going to do?
For me, since I have 3, I don't have any credit card debts in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and buy.
You're gonna save it for the buy phase?
Yeah, I'm going to save it for the buy phase.
All right, so once everyone's concluded on what they're going to do, they're going to go on to the next phase. The next phase is the buy phase, which we can purchase cards from the shop. Whenever cards are purchased from the shop, a new one's just going to take its place. So go ahead and show us.
Okay, so I use my 3. I purchased this.
And you can see the cost at the top of the card.
Yeah, and what this is going to do is this is going to allow me to -2 to any die roll, and we're going to show you what the die roll do when it comes to fighting the villains in just a moment.
Now, without a delivery drone, you can only take 1 regular item into battle. So all of us are ready. We're going to proceed to the villain phase, during which we'll all take our meeples, and we're going to choose which bosses we're going to fight.
Now this is where the co-op comes in, because sometimes you're going to want everyone to fight one boss if one boss is particularly hard, or you feel like we need to get rid of him first, or we can just kind of spread it out and each try to kill a different boss. So
everyone's going to take their 2 dice that they start with, and they're going to roll, and then they're going to place them on the numbers if they can. All right, so we got a 3 and a 4 for green.
That's great.
That's really good. Red got a 5 and a 6, and it's got the credit card shredder, which can lower the die roll by 2. However, that's not enough. Let's see. Blue got a 6. Now let's see what hero powers we can use. All right. We've got the Tweetman's ability to scam a citizen. That's not really going to help us right now. We have Lady Easing's ability to add $2 to a scammed citizen. That's useful, but not right now. And we have choose a hero and re-roll 1 of their dice.
That's useful. So I think I'm going to... Well, if I'm blue, if I'm red, I didn't get anything on my red.
We'll have blue re-roll because you can donate your items to other players during their phase.
True, yes.
All right, so we rolled a 4. Perfect. Now, this villain has been caught and is going to jail. He's out of here. These players' dice comes back automatically. These dice he gets his dice back since he didn't land anything. This one has the choice of leaving their dice, but then they won't get to roll them in the subsequent phases. So he's going to go ahead and leave the lasting wounds, and everyone heads back to base. Now we go to the resolve phase. These guys are going to scam the citizens in front of them for the amount on their card. In this case, 4. So he has 10. He goes down to 6. This one's got 3. Scams him down to 4. Check to make sure none of the boss things happened. Currently they haven't. And then back to the first phase. Don't forget to refresh the bankrupted citizens, the defeated villains.
And after you refresh those, I just want to go over the different gadgets. Let's go over the details of what each gadget can do. Here, these are going to be the basic ones here. You're going to see a -2. This is going to be able to apply to your dice roll specifically. And then you're going to see this one right here, who also shows a -2. Now this one has the arrows, meaning I can apply that to another player. Whereas this one is personal. This is only me. And you can only use one gadget per person. So these guys right here are going to be, this guy adds a die to your dice collection. So as you can see, we all start with 2, but we have 5 total. You have one of these, now you have 3. Pretty self-explanatory. And then this gadget right here is going to allow you to flip a die over. So if I was on a 1, I flip it over and it goes to 6. So again, just all your gadgets are pretty much just going to be dice manipulation. They're going to allow you to get the right die roll, so that way then you can take the villain out, because again, you're going to need a 4 and a 6 to kill this villain. Anything that you can add or minus to your die or get more die are going to up your chances of destroying the villains and protecting your citizens.
When your citizens are bankrupted, their starting health is going to be added to Debtzilla's HP, possibly triggering more events to show up. Other ways you can add health to Debtzilla is by taking out these debt cards. Each debt card has a different ability, and there's also the debt refinancing card, which will give you 1 money per debt card in your play area. So we have the housing loan. It will add another dice once it's paid off. That's really useful for fighting Debtzilla and the other villains. We have the student loan. This one will give you 2 immediately, and this will give you 2 every turn, but it costs you 4 to pay back. And then you have the get 3 immediately, but you get nothing when you pay it back.
Okay. So now that we've talked about the cards that we can put into our decks, the different gadgets that we can have here, let's go ahead and talk about the boss mode once our citizens become bankrupt and the game progresses. Okay, so now our game has progressed, and we're getting down to the last villains here. As you can see, this card is revealed, meaning that our villain deck has now been pretty much fully vanquished. We have 2 villains left. So let's just say our red here scored a 4 on their roll. Boom, took out this villain. And if you notice here, the last villain affects all 3 here until it is killed. So again, we'll say our last villain is killed as well. 1 and 0. And once the villains are killed, now the bosses come into play.
Instead of going to the resolve phase, we go to the boss phase. The boss's HP freezes and can't go up or down anymore. You're going to take all of the revealed boss cards, shuffle them up, and it's going to make the new villain deck. You're going to place it out, and it's going to function exactly like the villains did before, with a couple of exceptions. One of these abilities is going to activate it whenever you attack them. For example, this one says attackers receive minus a die for each luxury in their play area. This is where shields come in, and you can negate that ability. The reason why there are different colors here, in a 2-player game you would only need to place on the blue squares. In a 3-player game you need to also play on the yellow. In a 4-player game you need to place on the red as well. Play continues with players defeating all of the boss's abilities as it goes on. Last villain standing also affects. Once all of these cards have been defeated before the citizens have ran out of money, you'll win the game. A couple of things that didn't come up right now is during the boss fight phase, you will only be drawing cards and collecting your resources off of the cards. You'll no longer be able to pay off debt or add cards to your deck. During any point in the game when you're in the vigilante boss fight phase, you will be able to purchase heroes that are not in the game to help you. They'll show up with their 2 dice, and you'll be able to use their abilities, but not their special moves. It's a really powerful addition. So, what do you think of the game, Jim?
I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the cooperativeness of it, how, we're all in this together. We need to think and strategize based off of different abilities we have, different equipments we have. Obviously, throughout the game, people build their decks slightly different. So some people might build a lot more money. Some people might build a lot more insurance. So as each player has different abilities and has different ways of building their deck, it really adds to the cooperativeness to the game, because again, like I said, we're all in this together. We all need to be able to kill the Debtzilla.
And simultaneous turns with deck builders with co-op is kind of like unique. I haven't really played many games with all 3 of those put together.
True. Yeah, because especially, again, we're protecting our citizens, and we have our villains set up. We have our dice. We have to kind of I'll go for this villain, you go for that one, and then they'll say, no, maybe we should both go for one. And so it's a little bit of a conversation before you commit. And then once we all agree, okay, yeah, let's strike with this plan, that's when we start rolling die. That's when we start going into our abilities, and that's when the game really starts becoming fun.
You don't want to kind of go out on your own. If you fail to defeat a villain, then he could bankrupt a citizen. The citizen being bankrupt could push the boss's HP to another threshold, which just makes the game even harder to beat.
Yeah. So sometimes you'll see certain villains, they'll have a really easy, you can beat that villain really simply, but then you look at another villain and it's about to kill a citizen. You might want to go for that hard villain first as opposed to the easy. But again, you have to just pretty much weigh out the wealth of your citizens and the difficulty of killing each villain. And once you kind of balance those out and figure out what's your best strategy to ultimately beat the game.
So what did you think of the quality of the components?
The components themselves, I liked them. I liked definitely the art and how each player, each character kind of has their own style. They're kind of based off of real people. And
I'm not sure if this is the prototype or the final version, but these are really thick, high durability cards.
Yeah, no, the quality is definitely there as well. The art style,
the art style is
definitely
unique, and the theme really comes out in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it all kind of it's simply put. Everything is really easy to understand.
So, were there any mechanics that you didn't like in this?
Mechanics I didn't like.
Some people wouldn't like the rolling the dice to hit the specific numbers. It could be too random, and you could just get a bad chunk of dice and could cause you to lose the game or the game to spiral out of control. But okay, overall, how do you like the game?
I enjoyed it. I did think that there is a randomness, because there was a couple times whenever we played our game where we kept trying to go for this one villain, and no matter what we were rolling, it just wouldn't roll the die, and we're like,
They do give you tools to help mitigate the randomness, and it works out. And overall, I think this game is very good.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it very much so, though. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's not definitely not a face roller, and you do have to think and cooperate, and it was really fun.
Definitely challenging.
Yeah, definitely.
This has been another Unfiltered board game Kickstarter review. If you liked it, check out Debtzilla in the comments below.
When we also have our website at unfilteredgamer.com, where you're gonna have blog posts, giveaways, and a huge Kickstarter list where we make it really, really easy for you to find other games like this that are Kickstarters out there, so that way you can see them as well.
Sounds good. Special thanks to our affiliates, Devitos Gaming, Unfiltered, Everything Board Games, and The Giveaway Geek. Alright guys, we look forward to seeing you guys next time.